What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream. Oh God, how you feeling? How you doing? I'm well, clearly, very stable, and I'm so happy to have you here on a Tuesday. If you're listening in the future, days don't matter. It's just whenever I'm brushing my teeth and I don't feel like being alone. That's when I play my podcasts. I get it. That's what I do too. Welcome everybody on YouTube. Make sure you like and share the stream right now. If you're on Twitch, sup. Please subscribe to this channel. Use those Bezos bucks that just automatically renew every year. And you're like, do I need Prime? I guess I want Prime. One day I'll boycott. And then pretty soon, we live in a hellscape of Bezos's making, and we do not have the tools to make the guillotine. And isn't it ironic that if we were to get the tools to make the guillotine, we'd probably have to order them off of Amazon? See how that works? We have such a good show for you today. RB Butcher is here, a comedian, a wonderful person, and we're going to get into everything with them. We're going to talk all about Steve Bannon being indicted, and also books being banned. It's a very ban theme. And they're going to stick around with me to do a bonus bish. Remember, if you're a patron of this show, you get 15 to 20 more minutes of content, depending on how good we're feeling. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes we just hang. But I felt like we would be remiss not to discuss Representative Josh Hawley's little tirade, I don't know, not even tirade, just sort of weird Boy Scout rant about masculinity and what's wrong with it and how Democrats are destroying it. So I wanted to get their opinion on that and share mine, because there's a small grain of truth in what he's saying. But not in the way that you might think. So stay tuned for that. Also, Morriah Kaplan of If Not Now, which is an anti-occupation Jewish-led organization here in the United States, working on lobbying Congress to ramp down and end the endless funding for the Israeli military, is going to be on with us to talk all about what If Not Now does, all about the prospects for an end to the occupation, or at least an end to the U.S. funding of the occupation in our lifetimes. I don't know. It's been going on for a very long time. So sit tight. And we have a great show planned for y'all. But I don't know if the Patreon information was clear enough. Bitchuation, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Aquí está. Para que vean. That's how you support the show until, I get that sweet, sweet Spotify money, baby. See, all I figure is I gotta, do MMA, go bald, sympathize with right-wingers, wonder if, trans kids equals child abuse. Yeah, that's it. That's just, and then Spotify gives me a deal. And then I'm Joe Rogan, and it's great. And then I hawk ivermectin, and it's awesome. But until then, I rely on you wonderful people. Obviously, I'm never going down that primrose path. So yes, become a patron. You get all that extra bonus content, and you get 20% off of our merchandise, which you can get at bitchuationroom.com is where you get your merch. You get 2 different kinds of shirts. We got stickers. We got tote bags. And also we're doing this very cute little raffle. So at the end of next month, I'm raffling away 3 books. That's right. People still read, but they're 3 of my favorites from 2 awesome mentors and authors, Max Elbaum, Naomi Klein, raffling off his Revolution in the Air, 60s Radicals Turned to Lenin, Che, and Mao, How to Change Everything by Naomi Klein, which is the young human's guide to protecting the planet for like young folks in your life. And then We Own the Future, which is a book that I actually contributed to. I wrote a whole chapter about what if stand-up comedy, but socialism. And yeah, it's the last chapter, but that means it's the best chapter, dude. So make sure to get that merch. Sorry, the reason the raffle exists is because you get your merch. You take a photo of yourself. You hashtag Francifa swag. We enter you into the raffle, and one lucky listener or viewer will get that loot. We're going to add a couple things to it. Again, I'm not sure if it's going to be just like a bunch of rose petals or a lock of my cat's hair. You know what I mean? Like one of those things. It's going to be Ramona's ear. Here you go. I could raffle off her tooth. I do have her extracted tooth. If anyone wants Ramona's extracted tooth, holler. All right, let's get into this, you guys. Every week we start off the same way, which is asking everybody, what are you bitching about? Today is no different, even though it's a Tuesday night. Everybody get I don't know. I was gonna say get your bitch caps on, which is the funny, like I feel like someone would be like, hey, that's a bitch cap if I ever saw one. Get your bitch caps on. Because this is What Are You Bitching About? Okay, very quickly. Obviously, COP26 wrapped this week, and I have a lot of thoughts about COP26, but you know, there's a commitment to maybe do something in the future, commitment to stay 1.8 degrees Celsius, only warm the planet by 1.8 degrees Celsius, which is good. That is, if everyone makes good on their promises, of course, which it's pretty much, again, like a Scouts honor type situation. And, you know, China and the United States have been coming to the table to talk, which is actually really good. It is good to discuss climate change and how to stop it. So there's some silver linings. For the first time, swear to God, first time, these agreements include the words fossil fuels, which has never been done before. It's like, well, climate change is happening. It's happening to us. We have no idea why. We don't have anything to do with it. Doopy doo. Like, so finally they're talking about fossil fuels. India apparently lobbied for the language in the agreement around coal to be changed from scale phase out to phase down. So they'll phase down. It doesn't matter because, again, there's no accountability to do any of it except for, you know, the future of the planet. So let's hope, you know, we can just sort of like say prayers and stuff. But I'm bitching about the fact that in the same week that Joe Biden, you know, heralded this moment, this agreement in Glasgow, that he simultaneously is now about to lease 80 million acres of the Gulf of Mexico for oil and gas permits. 80 million acres in the Gulf of Mexico the day after. Now, I read this and I was like, this is insane. What are you talking about? The hypocrisy is so fucking overwhelming. There's no way. And lo and behold, actually, he had put a hold on that sale. He didn't want to sell. These are federal waters. Didn't want to sell it. And the government was essentially sued, along with oil companies and a few states, sued to say, no, you should put this up for sale. And instead of fighting that lawsuit, the courts ruled against the government. And instead of fighting it and not complying, Biden's basically like, okay, fine. And this has been called by environmental groups, if we develop these waters and extract oil, a carbon bomb. Fun, right? And So, according to some, he can use executive authority to basically say no. He can fight it. He can appeal. But instead, he's not. He's allowing it to go forward, I believe, in the first of next month, next year. That's at the same time that he's banning drilling around the Chaco Canyon, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in northwestern New Mexico. So that's great, and that's going to get the headline, and, people are going to talk about that. But like, you're giving with one hand and taking with the other. We are just a self-defeating situation. And we've talked about this on other shows, right? That Biden has said, look, we want to move to renewables, but we can't yet. We can't wean ourselves. We're not ready to go cold turkey. We're not ready. We're going to go to the meetings, but we're not going to like commit to not be an addict anymore. And honestly, I have way more sympathy for addicts than I do for fucking Joe Biden and the fossil fuel industry. So that shit's way harder than just getting off of goddamn fossil fuels. So that's what I'm bitching about. And let me know in the comments what you guys are bitching about. But without further ado, let's bring up my comedian for the hour. They're a stand-up comic, actor, and writer seen on Adam Ruins Everything, Take My Wife, Good Trouble, Ellen, HBO, Comedy Central, and Conan. Please welcome RB Butcher.
Hey, you used them all. All the credits. I appreciate it.
Oh, hell yeah. Was I only supposed to choose one?
I mean, I just provided as many as possible, and then you read them all, and I appreciated it.
That's, as someone whose credits, everyone's like, are those real things? Are those, like, I say put it in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Followed by AOC, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I forgot to put that one in there. That's a positive one.
Exactly.
And I checked in before I came on, still follows me. Hasn't left.
Hell yeah. Yeah. That's my claim to fame too, is followed by AOC. One time AOC gave me a hug. AOC hearts my DMs, but never replies. Nice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's
honestly very kind of her. A person with 12 million followers hearting DMs. That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot. You know what I mean?
It's doing a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm special, but
I'm gonna say you're pretty special.
I'm up there. I'm up there in her tiers of. Anyway, I'm probably far underneath her dog, but RB, what are you bitching about this Tuesday? Tell everything.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it pretty simple. I've got two things. Well, the first thing is kind of funny. So the first thing is people who use the word female a lot. I don't like it. I saw some like tweet by a pickup artist that was like, you see this woman exit the female restroom. Like, what? That's not a thing. Nobody calls it that. Like, why? It always creeps me out when people use female, because you never hear people referring to men as male unless it's like a cop description or, you know what I mean?
That's
it's like
so
a rundown
true.
of it. Just is it. It's a weird, weird sexist imbalance, and it like tells me a lot about a person that I should probably stay away from them.
Especially it sounds super clinical, and then in any kind of pickup artist situation, it's like you should be like rubbing your hands together and going the females, like
yeah, it's super creepy. I mean, obviously it's pickup artists pretty creepy to begin with. So 100%. It's not like I'm, it's like some cool person or something like that. But it's just in general, whenever I see people using the word female, I'm just like, something's up with you. You need to think about things a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's, it's interesting because sometimes I'll say like female comics because lady comics sound really bad. And like, I don't know why. Lady just sounds just sort of like little lady,
Yeah.
And like women comics also, I don't know why, but there's it's almost hard to say. Right. Women comics.
Yeah. I mean, female comics is one of the exceptions to this rule that I'm bitching about, which is that like that one actually makes sense.
It rolls a little bit better. But then and like, I mean, speaking as someone who's identifies as they, it's very like being brought up on any kind of comedy show must be its own thing. But like as a woman being brought up, it's when people are like, this lady, this next lady, or this, sometimes I think I've been brought up as like this female. Like,
yeah,
oh
it's
my
crazy,
God.
dude.
Oh
So
God.
so before any of my own like gender, like specific gender journey that is of recent, I hosted a stand-up show that lasted for like 7 years, and it was also a podcast. And I made a decision very early on in my own self that I didn't use any gendered pronouns or words for like years when I was
Yeah.
bringing people up. I would, this is how I would say, I would be like, this next comic, you've seen them on this, you've seen them on that, because that's the other thing that people, I feel like we're at this moment where people don't realize that they and them is not some like protected, like you only use it for people that use it. That's not the only point. Like the point of expanding your understanding of gender and what gender is and the limits of language is using that more often.
Yeah.
Is like using it instead of in like there's signage that says like ask your doctor, he or she might be able to help you. It's like just use they right there. They might be able to help you. You know what I mean? Like it's such a waste of time and energy. And so that was something that I did, and it was a great practice because you know
Oh, I bet.
there is so much inherent like intrinsic sexism that people don't even realize that when you say this this next comic, she's gonna be so great, people start to
Yes.
form an opinion. And
Yes.
so I did my best to not do that. So when somebody
Yeah.
came out, they just were like, okay, and then it started from there. But they got
You still
they got
objectified
time.
them. I mean, you still objectified them sexually. Like they're real hot.
They're
They
so
got
hot.
a real nice
See,
ass.
wait till you see this bod.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I turned them into an object, but I gave them a chance.
All right. That's a light thing, right? Anything
That's my
else?
light thing. And then obviously, you know, I just want to point out my shirt. Just wanted to point this one out for everybody.
Don't mess with trans kids.
That's right. You can get this. The Instagram is "Don't Mess with Trans Kids," so very easy to find. And
I
all the
love
money
that.
from these shirts they donate to fighting anti-trans legislation, which is the other thing that I'm bitching about. And to specify any of it would be to miss that it's just consistent and abundant, which is so frustrating and sad to me. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I'm bitching about because the thing that has been the most frustrating to me, specifically about the sports, the anti-trans sports, is that it's that classic right wing / conservative that then bleeds into moderate thinking that technically it's not banning kids from sports because it's not banning, in my mind, it's banning trans kids from sports. But they go, they can play sports. They just can't be trans, is what it is. But they don't, it's like this, it's so messed up to me. You know, because basically they're saying like, yeah, no, just don't be who you are and then you'll be fine. You know, you can do that later. And like that's antithetical to humanity, you know? Like just we're talking about children. They're 8 years old playing soccer and you give a shit. You know what I mean? Like it's so messed up.
Exactly. You don't like sports, you don't like kids, and you definitely don't like women, which is all like that's like it's anti-trans, it's transphobic, and then it's also super misogynistic. You know, and this is my thing with like anything that whiffs of like Christian nationalist, agenda around like around this kind of stuff, culture war bullshit is like, look, the day that, women are paid as much as men, women, like you can survive on only one income, like fucking there's universal childcare and paid family leave and all this support for women that like, and it's incredible to have a kid in this country, then maybe I'll take 5% of your anti-abortion like argument seriously. The day you fucking air women's sports on everything, you give a shit, that, with a women's soccer team has won however many gold medals, gold cups. See, I can't even say it, that we've won. Like the day you fucking care about that shit is the day I'll believe that you actually care about women's sports, but you don't.
Well, because they're just using it as a human shield because they don't care about it. Ultimately, this comes down to like rich people will always be able to have abortions. Rich people will always be able to access trans-friendly healthcare. Rich people will buy their way into it. All of these laws affect poor people and people who don't have the means to get around it. And that is who they want to punish, because most trans people are not Caitlyn Jenner. Most trans people are working class, not even middle class, working class or poor,
Yeah.
So these laws are punishing people who are the smallest of the smallest of the smallest, in our society. And that's what's taking millions of dollars away from community spaces and healthcare. Anyway, that's what I'm bitching about.
Oh, it's so good. No, go off. I love it.
I will always go off about it.
Thank you for doing so. All right, we got to move on to everything that happened this week. We're getting into the week. Okay, so a few things. Emails revealed that Trump officials pressured the CDC to downplay the coronavirus, which is pretty damning evidence of negligence, other than, the words and actions coming out of the White House every single day of last year trying to downplay the coronavirus. Arguments wrapped in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, ending with a very biased judge's bizarre courtroom ramblings about his smartphone. Like, does he want Rittenhouse acquitted so he can get tech support? Is that like what he's like, oh, now you're mine. Now you get to help me, son. Britney Spears was allowed to leave her conservatorship after 13 years, and the only thing that could ruin this is if she uses her newfound freedom to scream outside of a Whole Foods about masks. Like, what if she's an anti-vaxxer? Like, what if...
I mean, yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. I do hope she does some crazy shit, though. I do hope she just lives her life and everybody's like, oh, boy. And you have to be like, no, she's a free person and free people get to do whatever they want.
Totally. No, exactly. I hope she just spins in the middle of Times Square forever, like she, has been doing on her Instagram, but just can be like, what? Say shit.
With
say
rose petals.
Shit. And world leaders came to an agreement at the Glasgow UN Climate Summit to keep global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius. That is, if every country complies. And honestly, at this point, my money is on a global socialist revolution. That's more likely to happen. It'll be better. And Biden signed the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is, again, only $550 billion of new spending. And now he's touring the country to sell it to the American people. And I honestly think he should tour China to sell infrastructure to the American people. Like, just get on a high-speed rail from Beijing to Shanghai and be like, this could be us, but you playing. And finally, Mr. Joe Rogan claims that he can suck his own dick, which is fitting since self-fellatio is the entire point of his podcast. And now we know what the Joe Rogan experience is. It's tasting your own cum. For everything else, this is the week where. This was the week where the black lung from every anti-smoking commercial, Steve Bannon, turned himself in after being criminally indicted for contempt of Congress after he defied a subpoena from the January 6th committee. The Mucinex virus cartoon come to life didn't wait to be smoked out from his home as he usually does, but he surrendered to a judge on Monday. The 67-year-old Bannon surrendered earlier in the day to FBI agents. He was indicted on Friday on 2 federal counts of criminal contempt, one for refusing to appear for a congressional deposition and the other for refusing to provide documents in response to the committee's subpoena. The committee said that Bannon urged Trump to focus on the congressional certification and was present at an event at the Willard Hotel on January 5th in which Trump allies tried to persuade members of Congress to vote against the results. Yeah, they had a whole meeting at a hotel.
Yeah, might even call that a sort of a rally kind of a situation,
Yeah, almost like it was planned or that was the plan all along. Like foresight, you'd almost say. They probably had champagne at that. There was a PowerPoint and a deck. There was definitely a deck involved.
There was lanyards and they gave away little Yetis and stuff like that.
Totally. And a t-shirt cannon that was just
a t-shirt Bannon.
What? T-shirt Bannon. Hey. He did send him out. Okay, so this is him. Let's let Bannon speak, okay? Because we definitely don't want to look at him. So let's listen to him. This is him outside of, I believe, a courthouse where he turned himself in, very defiant.
Okay, hang on. They have their opinions. I'm telling you right now, This is going to be the misdemeanor from hell for Merrick Garland, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden. Joe Biden ordered Merrick Garland to prosecute me from the White House lawn when he got off Marine One. And we're going to go on the offense. We're tired of playing defense. We're going to go on the offense on this and stand by. By the way, you should understand Nancy Pelosi is taking on Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. She ought to ask Hillary Clinton how that turned out for them, okay? We're going on the offense.
Okay.
My favorite is the stand by, like the stand back and stand by, like the Proud Boys. Stand back and stand. I love just the idea that Nancy Pelosi and Merrick Garland are like radicals who are politicizing the justice system. Like, oh, if only they politicize the justice system. Everyone says Merrick Garland's not doing shit in there. And everyone wants to return back to normalcy. The dude just didn't show up. He needs to appear. He has to answer some questions. He's the one who can't actually fucking face what he did. He can't even lie. Like, can you not lie, dude? You do it all the time.
Drama queens. Like, everything it's like, that had the energy of like somebody that you were playing wiffle ball with in your neighborhood and they didn't like that they were out and they're like, yo, you go home. You know, like, it just like, you're making this all up.
This is the misdemeanor of a century. I was not out. My foot was on the bag.
That's right.
Jeff.
I was safe. Yeah, for sure.
I also love that Steve Bannon begs this question of like, what is the opposite of a silver fox? You know, like someone who goes gray but wrong. Yeah. I think the opposite of a silver fox is like a gray grease hen.
Yeah,
that's what I
like that. I mean, I was going to go with like a beige possum, but I don't want to be offensive to possums because possums are really cute and I like them a lot. So I don't want to be offensive to that animal, you know?
I very much disagree with you on that. And I'm reconsidering having you on this program right now. Possums' only weapon of defense is how ugly they are. They're just like, even
they play dead. That's their defense.
They are dead. They're like, zombies.
Never mind. Yeah, I know. They get rid of all the pests around your house and stuff. And they're so slow they can't see shit. But have you ever seen them as a baby, Francesca? They're adorable as little babies.
They're not.
They're marsupials. It's a marsupial in my yard. Can you believe it?
Gross. No, I did have one in my yard that I was like, I don't know if that's a baby or not, but it's scary as hell. And they look like they're in pain. They're always sort of like, owie.
Yeah, they definitely look as though they're like, why am I here? Why did this happen to me?
That's what I'm saying. I do think they were like reincarnations of, war criminals. Like, Rumsfeld.
I hope so.
Is a possum right now.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, a little bit more about Bannon. Obviously, what does this mean? It looks like it appears that substantially more likely that he will face some consequence for not appearing. Oh, this is earlier. Yes, he did face a consequence. He could face a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 1 year in jail, as well as $100 to $1,000 for each of the 2 charges of contempt. $1,000? Oh. But then,
how is this the punishment for something that terrible? You know what I like? I mean, I also am like, is it that terrible? Because I don't totally, believe in the justice system at all. But how can somebody who is like messing with everything have to pay $1,000? And then people who sold weed in 1987 are spending the rest of their life in prison.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it looks like he's avoiding that. He was very scared of the $1,000, which is very revelatory as to his financial situation. Let's just say he is really trying to sell ads on his podcast because he did appear and he turned himself in. And so federal magistrate Judge Robin Merriweather released him without bail, but required him to check in weekly with court officials and ordered him to surrender his passport. If convicted, Bannon faces a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 1 year. There we go. Exactly. Behind bars. So this is my question. Does he actually still have to testify? Like, he would rather spend 30 days in jail or pay $1,000 and not have to actually answer to the person that he's scared of. It's not necessarily Nancy Pelosi, but it is Nancy Pelosi. He's scared of this committee.
You think he's scared of this committee?
Yeah, that's what the whole thing is, him being fucking scared of it. Otherwise, he'd be like, yeah, I'll sit for your stupid interview and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll lie and I'll, take the heat and that's it. And you'll present your evidence and then we'll go home. And let's be honest, nothing's going to happen to the people and the planners of the January 6th insurrection.
No, I mean, but I'll say this. This is what I think. And I'll make it very fast.
Yes.
I think they do this because it makes them a lot of money. I think that this is all just this is just a circus show and they make a lot of money off of it. And that's it. There's I don't actually think any of those people actually think they're going to have to pay anything that they can't afford. And I mean jail time, I mean money, all of that stuff. Yeah. Because it's a show. This is it's a television show at this point.
I'm really loving yeah.
That's what I think.
I'm loving these comments, you guys. Thank you for being here. I mean, Ryan Ridauer saying it's a badge of honor. It's for Bannon, obviously.
Yeah.
And let's see. Michael Hasty saying he doesn't have to testify. That's it. So you can contempt of Congress and it's 30 days and done. I mean, look, there's already DC jails are full of January 6ers and Oath Keepers. He's in good company. And Roller Dragon says they need to treat him like Chelsea Manning and hold him until he breaks. I don't know about that. But that's interesting because you're basically pointing out the fact that we don't treat the people that we should treat with respect who are blowing the whistle on actual war crimes. We treat horribly and then ban and slap on the wrist.
Or, lawyers that win against Chevron,
yes.
We put them in prison.
Yes, dude, we haven't covered that story on this show, but we fucking need to.
Next time.
Yes, next time. Maybe I'll get him in. All right, we got to move on. The next story. This was the week where anti-critical race theory. Let's start again. This was the week where the anti-critical race theory crusade rolled on as more and more schools have been banning books from libraries that parents claim are indoctrinating their kids, which is a total humble brag. All right. If you've got a kid who's reading a book in a library in the year 2021, you should put that on a bumper sticker. That's good on you. My kid can get through a whole page. Of course, they're targeting books written by Black and LGBTQ plus authors, and there is a theme on which books they're the most triggered by. But if you haven't been following this, which I've been it's not trying to stare at something that's so painful to actually look at, and it does have a Bannon connection, in fact. But so this is in Wichita, Kansas, a small suburban school district pulled 29 books out of its libraries. The decision to remove those books came after one father complained about the young adult novel, The Hate You Give, which is about a young Black girl who witnesses a police officer murder her best friend, and then followed up with a list of 28 other books he deemed offensive to his sensibilities, in addition to novels like Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, and Sherman Alexie's The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. The list also featured a robust selection of books with queer themes. So this is the Goddard School District. And around the same time, in Spotsylvania County School Board in Virginia ordered the removal of books deemed, quote, sexually explicit. Two parents, Christina and Robert Burris, had complained about the books on offer at school libraries, particularly books with LGBT themes. Quote, results for gay, 172. Results for heterosexual, 2, Christina Burris told the school board. She continued, one of those 2 books is actually Speak No Evil, Hear No Evil, which is about a Nigerian gay boy. Results for pedophilia, 16. Lesbian, 84. Jesus, 19. But half of them are about Muslims. What? So this is parents learning the Dewey Decimal System so they can look up the word gay. I understand the Dewey Decimal System doesn't exist, but they're basically just Googling and RIP. Let's pour one out for the triple D or the double D. They're just going on their students and their kids' library websites, looking up gay and then getting mad.
Yep. Because I guarantee, especially that first one with the 28 books, That man did not read those books. And they did not read those books either. So that means purely, simply that it contains this idea, and I don't even totally know what it is. It's bad. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I think that if you ban a book, if you, let's say, okay, if you lobby your school board or to ban a book, you should have to present a book report on that book.
100%.
Right?
You should have to read it, and you should have to write at least a book report at the same level of your child that you are banning the book on behalf of. So
Exactly.
that could be good, because it might only be a 3rd grade level book report. But guess what? You're going to have to write a 3rd grade level book report on the bluest eye. So good luck with that, my friend.
And by the end of it, you might understand something. And you'll be like, oh, I get it. Okay.
Right.
27 books I want to ban. But then
right.
you got to do 27 book reports. Why are we holding parents to different standards than the children?
Exactly.
It makes no sense. But I do want to show one in particular. I mean, it's getting obviously completely bizarre. This is in North Kansas City, Missouri, pulling 2 books with queer characters and themes. One, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson, and Fun Home by Alison Bechtel. So Alison Bechtel is a cartoonist, a comic book writer and illustrator. And they've got a new like documentary. And anyway, apparently I want to watch it. I want to learn more about her. But this one parent from North Kansas in Missouri, North Kansas City in Missouri, had a lot to say about Alison Bechtel. And this was his little diatribe, including pictures and images that I don't know who is holding up. This poor kid is holding up for him. Let's take a look.
And female with female sex, with detailed descriptions and pictures of oral sex with her girlfriend. Lawn Boy by Jonathan Evison. And I quote, this is what's in the book. What if I told you I touched another guy's dick? I said, what if I told you I sucked it? I was 10 years old, but it's true. I put Doug Goebel's dick in my mouth. I was in 4th grade. It was no big deal because he sucked mine too. Why are we giving this and allowing this to our kids? They're minors. If you want this discussed, it should be something that should be discussed at home.
Should you discuss it at home?
Oh,
you really want to
boy.
discuss that at home? I'm just going to say I would much prefer to learn about oral sex from a book than any parent try to talk to me about that. I'm just going to be honest. Like, let me find that in a library.
If you, yeah, that's what it's for. Because guess what? The other option is porn. They're going to find that if they can't read it in a book from the library, a cartoon by Alison Bechtel of like adorable, like you can't even see any. Come on. It's ridiculous. Leave it alone. I'm also like, you're looking for problems. These people are looking for problems. They're so scared to talk to their own kids. They're like, well, I found a problem in the library instead.
You're so right, though. Like, honestly, kids, sadly, and there's a whole other conversation, and we're going to talk about Josh Hawley and his thoughts on porn later on in our bonus episode.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right. Like, kids are way overexposed to all kinds of sex. Is your problem that it is like male on male, woman on, that it's lesbians?
That's
like,
the
what
problem.
Yeah.
Because it's possibility. It's possibility that is a possibility. Because those things kids could find on television right now. Like 2 people talking about oral sex, absolutely on television.
Or
especially heterosexual.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know
How do you want them? Exactly. How do you want them to learn about it? From porn, from, like some whatever. You know what I'm saying? You want them to learn from Pornhub, or you want them to learn from like Alison Bechtel's beautifully illustrated book?
Yeah.
There's themes. Like it's about family. There's there's an arc. I'm gonna go with the latter. Honestly, I want it to be artsy. But anyway.
Creative, understanding, kind, compassionate, giving. You know?
Yeah, somebody is a selfish.
Very scary.
He's a selfish lover for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's without a doubt. All right, we got to move on. we're going to bring in our guests. But before we do, a couple questions, a couple comments from ye old chat. Matt Claremont says, I'm bitching about the lack of bitch caps on the merch shop. Me too, dude. I really want some bitch caps on the merch shop. It's like, I'd be like, get your bitch cap on bitchuationroom.com. I really like they're more expensive, the ones I want that are like nicely stitched, like a nice hat that has like a stitching. Yeah, you've got a Dodgers hat
embroidered.
on.
An embroidered hat.
Exactly. Yeah. Embroidered hats are the cute ones. Otherwise, it's just kind of stamped, and like you don't want to invest in something like that. Paper Bullets says on Bannon, a hairdresser needs to go on the offense with Bannon's hair. Yeah. What would that even? I think, I don't even want to know. I mean, the only other option for him is to have like sort of the Nazi boy, haircut.
Swoop.
The swoop, yeah.
That little thing.
Mm-hmm.
The thwomp.
I think just bald everywhere, but then like the tuft in the front.
Sure, yeah.
But like curtain bangs.
Yeah, the backwards duck.
Yes. Shay said, good old US of a-holes. I like that one. On critical race theory, pow nobody now, or POW nobody now. They hate cancel culture, but they love to cancel books. Yeah, literal Nazi shit. No, we're not Nazis. We're going to do Nazi shit.
Yeah.
And this is the part that I didn't mention, and we had a whole segment on this. But it's completely astroturfed, you guys. This entire movement, and you have to take a second. But the Heritage Foundation has been behind it. Other groups like ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council, has been behind it. This is the right
1971.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Like, fucking shit up from behind the scenes since 1971.
Also, you said Kansas City, right? There is a Phyllis Schlafly library in St. Louis. I don't think there's a single book in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this shit. They've been doing this forever. Yeah. And the thing that keeps working is people think it's new. And the problem for me is that the liberals think it's new. They're like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, dude, this is like a 50-year thing. It's been going on for a long ass time.
That is a really important point. They're winning. They're just capturing the moment. People are upset. No, they're not.
No, man.
It's the same shit it's always been. It's the same homophobic, anti-gay, fucking like xenophobic shit. It's always been racist stuff. It's a satanic panic. It's welfare queens. Pick a different decade. You got a new name for it.
It's just
always
going
to happen. It's
just
different language.
Their language is always evolving, but we're the weirdos that have, this like evolution of language, and we're changing everything and canceling everybody and all that stuff. It's the same shit, and they just want leaning us in and going, with each other.
What do they really think? What do they? Maybe they're onto something.
What's it really about? They're just
upset. Moving too fast. Maybe we've left them behind. All right. We gotta move on. I'm so sorry to keep our awesome guests waiting. We're talking about progressive Jews in the United States taking Congress to task on their support of an occupation that is a violation of human rights pretty much every single day. And I'm so excited to talk to her. She is the managing director of If Not Now. Please welcome Morriah Kaplan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Really, really happy to have you. I've never had anyone from If Not Now on the show, but I'm a huge fan of your guys' work.
Thank you so much.
Morriah, can you just tell me, like, why did If Not Now start, and who are your members, and like what's the political role that you feel like If Not Now plays?
For sure. So we started in the summer of 2014. Which was before this past May, the last time that Israel, decided to bomb the shit out of Gaza. And it was an air invasion. It was a ground invasion. And the kind of Jewish community in America writ large was sort of like Israel's right to defend itself, beating the drums of war, super hawkish. And a group of young American Jewish people came together, and they were like, this feels really bad. This is really disgusting to watch our community kind of celebrate this and not really recognize the the vastly disproportionate loss of life, 2,000 Palestinians killed, many of them non-combatants, and also really recognize how many Israelis were also killed. Like, this is a tragedy. It's not a good thing. And so we started organizing that summer of 2014, to shift the attitudes of American Jews, organize American Jews in support of Free Palestine, against occupation, against apartheid. Obviously a lot has changed since then. We elected Trump. Not me, but us.
Mm-hmm. A settlement was named after Trump.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite disgusting tidbit of the Netanyahu Trump love affair. It's like, oh, I'm gonna name a settlement after you.
Right.
Thanks.
It's like the most horrible nexus of like the sort of like real estate grossness and the like occupation grossness and 100%. The Trump Netanyahu love affair. Yeah. So yeah, obviously the occupation apartheid has marched onward since then. But we are organizing lots of young Jews in particular. Over the last few years, we have upwards of 10,000 people come to protests, workshops, events, trainings. We have a small staff, but hundreds of highly committed volunteer leaders. And we are doing what we can to really to shift things.
Yeah. I love part of your mission statement, which basically says, I'll read it, AIPAC, which is, the biggest arm of the Israeli lobby, the biggest group in the Israeli lobby, the sort of broad Israeli lobby. AIPAC has weaponized Jewish identity and false accusations of anti-Semitism to ensure that politicians across the board vote to give Israel a blank check, even as it continues to deny freedom and dignity to the Palestinian people. I think that weaponizing Jewish identity is really, you cuts deep. Like, you named it, put your finger on it. Tell me more about what that means to you, and more broadly, maybe to the members of your organization. And
yeah, for sure. I think personally, I am extremely offended, and I think it's super gross every time AIPAC, calls Ilhan Omar an anti-Semite. They invite Trump and Steve King to the AIPAC conference. They love Kufi, Christians United for Israel, led by Pastor John Hagee, who once said that Hitler was sent by God to hasten the return of all the Jews to Israel, right? And they want to make common cause with these people because even despite the fact that they hate Jews, they love Israel. And it's, so they're really weaponizing this kind of story around and the fact that, genocide was relatively recent in our history. And being like, well, we care about Jewish safety. And so therefore that requires oppressing Palestinians, whereas they don't really give a fuck about Jews. Or Jewish
and that
people
really came into, sorry to interrupt you. That really did crystallize under Trump. I think it's interesting that if not now, formed before he was elected. Right. And then you're like, nah, see, this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. A lot of, we kind of tried to talk about some of these connections in our trainings before Trump was elected. And a lot of people were like, we really don't want to talk about anti-Semitism. Like, there was a very strong reaction because of the ways that anti-Semitism has been so weaponized by folks on the right to, smear people of color, progressive leaders, anyone who criticizes Israel and occupation. And then Trump started campaigning, and there was a lot of bad shit, but it also made it a lot easier in many ways to show those connections, the love affair between Trump and Netanyahu, and the fact that they're really pulling from the same playbook when it comes to like xenophobia, wall building, authoritarianism. So it does.
The right really, here in this country is so jealous of, especially the security apparatus, man.
They point to Israel constantly, like that Israel invented the idea of a border wall. They're like, well, if Israel can do it, we can do it. Which obviously, let's say nothing of like the racist past of this country. Let's just be like, well, the Jews said it was okay, so it's okay. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, no, I keep on remembering that the day, not only do we see a Nazi salute in, once again, another hotel, RB and I were talking about, just all these conference rooms with Nazis in them on the day Trump was elected. But I remember that I believe Jewish headstones in a graveyard were toppled the same day, like almost as a celebration, you know, and this is supposedly someone who calls out anti-Semitism in others. But anyway, I want to, if not now's tactics, I think are what also are really unique about you guys, which is, you know, there is dialogue, but it's not really about dialogue or understanding or, you know, trips or theater. It is like civil disobedience, pressure campaigns, maybe getting arrested if need be, street actions, and really focusing on Congress. Why and what have you seen a shift even just in the years that you guys have been around?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll talk first about our tactics. I mean, I think, and this is important because I think a lot of people, and this happens with all movements, you know, they're like, we support the cause, we don't support the tactics. Why do you have to be divisive? And I think the thing about dialogue groups and trips are really, really important, and they appeal to people who are already on board. And there's a lot of people who are just like going about their daily lives being like, I don't really need to pick a side on this, or I can pay some lip service, but don't really need to do anything serious, like many members of Congress, Democratic leaders. And so the goal is to actually be like, you can't ignore this. We're at your door. We're coming for you. We're your constituents, and to force a choice, because there are, you know, it's extremely easy, obviously, for people not to. In terms of the change that we've seen in politics, you know, in the past 7 years, on this issue, certainly, but like important to mention the kind of broader context of a rising, you know, progressive movement, some of the most visionary progressive leaders we've seen in a generation, really strong social movements and people power, the Black Lives Matter movement, really reorienting, really, I think, causing everyone to reorient to how we see and understand state power and state violence, right? And so I do think there's shifts happening. You know, the McCollum bill is a good example. Betty McCollum introduced a bill saying that the U.S. should not fund, you know, detaining children, settlement expansion, annexation, home demolition, et cetera. And there are 30 members of Congress who are signed on to it. And that's a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. And last summer, you know, 15 members of Congress for the very first time tried to stop a weapons deal to Israel. You know, the Biden trying to authorize an additional $730 million of weapons in the midst of, you know, the escalation in May, while Israel is literally, you know, bombing Gaza, trying to send more weapons, which obviously he succeeded. But the fact that 15 members of Congress in the first place even, you know, tried to stop it, I mean, has not happened in decades. Like, that's been so far beyond what has kind of been considered politically possible or politically advisable. And so this is all
so
good.
Even if it's just one congressperson, you see that as a win, like gaining ground.
I mean, it's just been so out of the question, you know, over the past several decades that you could question the actions of the Israeli government, that you could call out, you know, Israel's abuses of Palestinian human rights. And still, it's an extremely toxic political climate. You know, you have Rashida Tlaib, who spoke about the Iron Dome, you know, and voted against additional funding for the Iron Dome. And Ted Deutsch is, you know, in the middle of the House floor calling her a raging anti-Semite. Like, that's the climate that they're in. And so the fact that there are some people starting to speak out on it, like, that's just where our politics are. And that's actually a big deal. And that shows that there are, I mean, yeah, it's a big deal to have champions. We didn't have champions, you know, 7 years ago.
We didn't have a representative Rashida Tlaib in
We didn't have
office.
a Palestinian woman in Congress.
Yes.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to ask, because we had Jamal Bowman on the show, Representative Bowman, and I asked him very explicitly about his vote for an additional $1 billion of Iron Dome funding. And he was saying that his constituents essentially were just like blowing him up. You know, they were like calling all the time, writing, etc. And he felt like he couldn't in good faith go against that and still be responsive. And he was, you know, he was like, yes, I understand about Palestinian human rights. What would it take to get someone like Jamal Bowman, one of the newer members of the squad, to vote against additional funding when we already give so much military aid?
For sure. I mean, I think, again, like, this isn't about Jamal Bowman. You know, he is representative of where the political climate is, of what is politically possible right now. And the fact that he is right, but he's listening to his constituents, and honestly, like, they out-organized us. That's what it is. We have to organize our members of Congress. We have to change the political weather more broadly. I don't expect that like politicians lead without us making them, and I think we've seen that a million times. We've seen Biden, right? Like, we got him in office, but he's still giving us nothing unless we really hold their feet to the fire. And I think it's the same. They're not going to be the solution to our problems. Like, we have to organize them. And that's what it's about.
Yeah. I mean, same with AOC, voting sort of present or whatever it was on the same vote. And
I mean, the reality is they're in like, that's the reality in their districts in many ways. Like, our political opposition is much more organized than we are. They're better funded. And that's what we're up against. But I think there's a lot of hopeful signs that we can do that.
Arby, did you want to jump in, or should I keep on going?
Yeah, keep on. I mean, I guess I would just ask this question as like a person who, could easily say like, oh, I just don't know enough or whatever. Like, what would you, and I'm not saying that, but like, what would you say to somebody in their daily life? Because I feel like organizing, there's so many levels of that, but like organizing in your own daily life of like how you approach, like if you were talking to somebody and they accused you of anti-Semitism, like what is your like go-to, and what would you like offer to somebody to sort of not get around that, but to like open up that dialogue up with someone in conversation?
I mean, I think we can just hold that you can like criticizing a country is just extremely different from like a form of racism. It is a fundamental right of ours. Like, nationalism is always debatable, and we get to debate it. And that's what that is. Like, and I think we really know that. Americans really know that, and we forget it, or we're sort of coerced out of that when it comes to Israel and all this sort of like weirdness that exists around, the role of kind of American Jews in politics and the ways we're like used in this sort of weird symbolic way. And I think like, we have to. And also, like, if you want to talk about anti-Semitism, let's talk about anti-Semitism. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's talk about Tucker Carlson. Let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about January 6th insurrection. Like, happy to talk about those things. But if you want to do it, like, we can talk about it. But saying that, we shouldn't be paying for the U.S. to drop bombs on Palestinians is not it.
100%. I mean, I think that, the refocusing on actual anti-Semitism that is so rife. I mean, it like, yes, are there like at, pro-Palestine demonstrations, anti-occupation stuff, are there signs that I'm like, man, that's not a great sign? Are there people who are like, nah, I'm not super on board with that? Always. But if you're talking about anti-Semitism and stacking violence against violence, which obviously is a cruel sort of comparison, but my God, the right and the anti-Semitism that undergirds everything, including all the racism against BLM demonstrators and Black people in this country. We had Eric Ward on our live show, and he sort of studies like that.
Awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah. And just, studies like the roots of white supremacy and always that anti-Semitism pillar underneath it.
And it's about power, the person with the sort of like sign that's a little off at the demonstration, like, there's them, and then there's like our literal former president, and many members of his cabinet and many members of Congress. Like, let's not get confused here.
100%. I want to ask you, I got a couple last questions, but we're talking sort of very broadly about policy, because I think we all kind of know, like end funding, legislate around, condemning Israel, but what legislative pieces are you guys really pushing for? And I know there's one in particular around the fallout of the war on Gaza.
Yeah, well, so I mean, we don't have like an extremely detailed policy platform. There are tons of policy wonks on this issue. We're in relationship with them. They do awesome work. We're not the policy wonks. We're here to shift public opinion. And the thing that we're here to shift public opinion about is about whether or not the U.S. should be funding Israeli weapons that are used against Palestinians. I think one of the most interesting things that came up in the Iron Dome vote is the conversation was all about whether or not Israel should be able to defend itself. It was just taken for granted that bill should be footed by the US, that Israel shouldn't pay for any of their own defense, even if you do want to see it as a purely defensive weapon, which I don't. But, and so I think the question is, it's not dissimilar from, the invest divest framework in defunding the police. It's like, do we want to be funding walls and counterterrorism and, global imperialism and racism and these defense contractors and weapons manufacturers, or do we want to fund things that actually help all of our people thrive? And I just think it's as basic as that.
And I feel like people so very quickly forget that's our money.
Yeah, it's ours.
It's ours. It's ours. And it's not even, I don't talk about
taxes.
Yes, I pay my taxes, but once I pay my taxes, that money becomes public money. I pay my taxes so that money helps the public, not just me, everybody. It's our money, and they're taking it and throwing it away.
And they're saying we don't have enough money for education. We don't have enough money for climate infrastructure.
We absolutely do. I gave it to you. I gave it to you. I continue giving it to you.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly right. Right. We're haggling over a billion here, a billion there. And meanwhile, it is unflinching and unquestionable when Israel needs more money. It's like we are always there to provide it. To what end, right? And I would argue it's interesting too, because it actually, if you're going on a crass, does this keep the United States safer mode? We all know the answer is no. If you didn't care about Palestinian lives, which that's fine. Some people don't. Some crass politicians don't. But on just a global strategic, military situation, Israel doesn't keep us safer. They do not protect our interests. If anything, they make shit worse. And we've seen that. We know that. We know how buddy-buddy they are with MBS of Saudi Arabia and others. We know that they like extremism in the region because it only further allows them to justify their own project of ethnic cleansing. So the shit's it's no good on all levels.
It's not good for anyone. It's not good for anyone, and it's they're increasingly authoritarian government. There's a lot of cooperation between U.S. weapons industry and Israeli weapons industry. I don't know if you guys have been tracking all the sort of spyware that Israel's been testing out against Palestinian activists. That spyware comes here. They test that out over there because Americans don't pay attention, and then they use it here. So we really should be paying attention and should be concerned.
Any final thoughts? Any ray of hope? I'm reminded of how Nina Turner's campaign, she really didn't lose by a lot, but I'm real mad at just the amount of money that came from a lot of pro-Israel lobbying groups to tank her.
I know. We really thought it was going to go better too, because DMFI, Democratic Majority for Israel, before that race, they just threw away so much money on Jamal's race, on a couple other and it was if DMFI is backing her opponent, that's probably a good sign for her because they have a losing record. Right. And so I think just got to keep organizing, and it's honestly, it's not that complicated. And I think there's so much around this issue where it's you can't weigh in unless you've written your dissertation on the geopolitics of the Middle East. But I think it's pretty clear, it's about human rights. It's about where we want our tax money to go. And it's about, do we think that we can really secure our safety without securing our neighbor's safety? And, I think the answer is no. It's becoming increasingly clear. So, that's what I can offer.
Hell yeah. Morriah Kaplan of If Not Now. Thank you so much for breaking that all down. And I would love it if you could stay for our final segment, which is promising to be a little more fun. Okay, great.
More fun than
this. More fun than occupation. Yeah. No, okay, so we always end, we got to have a little, little chaser after all that. A chaser, that's right. Yeah. Even though the alcohol is a good part, but it's a chaser. And that's our final segment. And it's new every week. That's the only thing that's different about it. Or that's the only tradition, is that it has to be new. And we've got a new segment. Given Mr. Elon Musk, the first or second, depending on how much stock he sold off or has to sell off that week. Elon Musk reply, guys, trigger warning right now. You might want to leave, go night-night, suckle on whatever, Cybertruck bottle you want to suckle on. Like, look at your Dogecoin, see how that's doing. But just trigger warning, there might be some not nice things said about your God and Lord and Savior. But Elon Musk came for Bernie this week, my God. And so I just want to know what's going on, buddy. What's going on? What do you need?
That was some anti-Semitism, right? It felt like it. It felt like it. I don't know that I'm accurate, but.
Oh, against Sanders? Hell yeah.
Well,
by the way,
it was like, you're a taker, not a maker. I was like, oh God, this is very.
Yeah, it's not great.
I want to get into that. But okay, this is.
Sorry, I'm jumping. I'm sorry.
No, we've got a very exciting interstitial. So hang on. This is what Elon needs. Single tear.
Excellent.
What? Oh, shout out to Ellie Hoffman for making that. What does Elon need? So let's just recap. Elon took to Twitter to do what he does best, troll about, 69ing and but this time it was in response to Bernie Sanders, who wrote, "We must demand that the extremely wealthy pay their fair share, period." Pretty simple, standard fare. Elon Musk replies, "I keep forgetting that you're still alive." And then he goes on. He's like, "How much more stock do you want me to sell? Bitch, we all know you have to sell the stock anyway. How much more stock do you want me to sell?" And then, as RB mentioned, he says, "Bernie is a taker, not a giver," which, is that anti-Semitic? Why does no one defend Bernie Sanders with anti-Semitic claims? Could it be that his politics are far too left? Yeah. But look at this fragility, you guys. First of all, don't fucking come for T.O. like that. Because the internet.
He has a penis as his
avatar. It's so hard to get past.
He does have a penis as his avatar.
It's a penis. It's a penis. And like
it's a metal penis.
It's a metal penis. It's so ridiculous.
He knows.
Oh yeah, it's on.
If and when he gets enough rockets to launch at the same time to spell out 69 in the sky, he will do that.
Oh yeah,
because that's how much he needs love. So this is what Elon needs. What does he need? Obviously, the answer is love. But if anyone else has a better answer, let's go around. Mariah, any answers?
He needs that comic book by Alison Bechdel that was banned that teaches tenderly about 69ing and other things.
Yeah, yeah.
Some open communication, some vulnerability.
Yeah, I love that. He needs to read a lot of Alison Bechdel and be like, damn.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not the best position. This looks pretty good. I love that. RB, what does Elon need?
I mean, I just went with what is real in my heart. This man needs a friend. Like this behavior is proof to me that he does not have friends. Like there's probably people in his life, definitely, because he's one of the richest men, if not the richest man on earth. There's people around him. He doesn't have a friend. This guy spends most of his time on Twitter. I do that. You know what I mean? I do that. What? It's so much proof to me that you can have all the money in the world and it still doesn't make you feel good because you need a friend.
Retweet me, please.
Tweeting at Bernie Sanders that you're still alive. What is this, high school? He sounds like Spicoli or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he needs a buddy.
As my boo Matt Lieb said, at least Bernie has the courage to go bald, whereas Elon needed hair plugs, and that is true. Look it up. I think Elon needs, and man, this is maybe very socialist of me, but he needs hard manual labor.
That's a good one.
He needs to be taken of his riches, because obviously billionaires shouldn't exist. He'll have enough when he's out of the work camps. And the work camp could be just driving for Amazon.
Yeah, dude.
Drive an Amazon truck for,
Grim.
I don't know, 6 months. Work for Bezos.
Yeah.
See what it's fucking like. Work on your own factory floor, right? Do a little bit of hard labor. It doesn't even actually have to be manual labor. Just be on Zoom calls all day long. In like,
I just want him to have to do work. He clearly doesn't work in any capacity.
No,
He didn't
exactly.
even invent the car. He didn't even come up with that.
I feel like every one of us knows that like Twitter is representative of people who have enough free time on their goddamn hands to like tweet about, you know, what they ate for lunch or whatever the hell. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't have enough time to be like maybe canceled on some shit that I want to say, but I don't.
And that's the best he could come up with. A dig at Bernie's age. It's not even fucking clever.
It's not even clever.
It's not good.
It's not good. And it stings. I'm going to say, though, it still stings a little bit because I'm just like, you know, and it's like I get a little mad because you're like, you know what? This motherfucker could have been our antidote to this motherfucker. Like Bernie Sanders, it should have been Bernie. The pandemic has proven that it should have been Bernie if it wasn't clear already. I'm not saying we wouldn't have had problems. I'm not even saying Bernie would have been as amazing as in your mind he would have been. But like, my God, the billionaires have won this. The class war has been won.
I don't think, I will say this, Francesca, I don't think that Bernie Sanders would have said, I'll give you $2,000 and then sent you a $1,400 check and then said, that's what I meant. He wouldn't have done that. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. He would have sent you $2,000.
It adds up to 2,000. You just...
He would not have done that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, and also there's a lot of things Bernie would have done. There should be a whole segment, what Bernie would have done. But
next week.
Yeah.
That is next week. That is in my heart every morning at 3 a.m. Like,
oh, no.
Panic attack. From the comments, you guys, thanks so much. Elon needs to shut the fuck up. Elon needs a heart like the Tin Man. Elon needs, this is great, someone to whisper to him, you are not Tony Stark. That's great. All right, you guys, Morriah Kaplan, everybody follow If Not Now and Morriah on the Twitter, because you guys all have time on your hands as you're driving to your next delivery. At Morriah K. And Morriah, anything else to plug?
Follow us. Go to our website, ifnotnowmovement.org, ifnotnow.org. That's our Twitter handle. It's good stuff. We have a good Twitter. Follow
Hell
us.
yeah, I do. I mean, it makes me sad, but I also like it.
Sure. Yeah. I won't say
like,
it's like the lightest content, but I think it's good.
More settler violence. Fun.
Yeah.
Yay. No, thank you so much for
really
joining.
Good Instagram, I will say.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Follow If Not Now,
platforms.
everybody. Get involved as well. I know there's lots of calls for action and ways to get involved on your site, correct?
Indeed there is.
All right. Take good care. And RB, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It's still my old name. So it's at RHEA Butcher on Twitter and Instagram. You can see it on there. These are the problems of being trans in public as a public figure to some. Like, it's going to take a minute and it'll change eventually. But yeah, you can follow me there. There's all kinds of stuff on there. You know, viral tweets about student loans, whatever you want.
We didn't even talk about student loan debt.
We did it.
But now I know when to have you back on.
Yeah, bring me back.
Well, we can dig into it. Oh my God, it was so fun, RB. Thank you so much. And
Thanks
also,
so much for having me.
You're not done. We got a little bit more. Oh, we got a little bit more about American masculinity, which I think is only fitting that we ask a trans person about that. I think that's
right.
very, very important. But yeah, so become a patron, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Meet us there. But thank you, RB, for being on the main show.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. Everybody, check out RB anywhere. Also, they do shows all the time in LA and around the country, so don't miss them. All right. Be well, and thank you guys for being here. You know what time it is. You know what time it is. The time I did not totally prepare for, but it has come, and it will not leave. Thank you for all of your super chats, all your comments, all the people who became patrons. all the people who've given a little something to the Venmo, TBR-Live, TBR Live on Cash App. This show is literally just thanks to you guys. That's how it happens all the time. And in honor of everybody, this is the fart song. Oh, wait. Great. Thank you so much to the new patrons at $10 or more. Lisa, I'm looking at you. Thank you to the big tippers, Mark K and Seiko. Thank you to the Twitch subs. Subscribe for the first time, Ozzy Plant the Hermit, Coop DeJarnak, Roro Sarah Beth, Fat Guy Named Tiny. Thank you for resubscribing, Late Bloomer 66 and Daniel McConkey. And thank you for the super chat, Dylan Floyd. Super appreciate it. Remember, you guys, if you are a patron at $10 or more, you get this shout out. If you subscribe on Twitch, you get this shout out. If you tip $10 or more, you get that shout out. And let's just dance out this very embarrassing song that I've committed to and I will not change. And as always, thank you to the one and only Ellie Hoffman, to Alexandra Ornes, to Maximillien Inhoff on the other side of YouTube. Becca Roofer, we love you wherever you are, doing good things. We stream every Sunday, 5/8 Eastern. Next week we are streaming, and the following we're not. We're taking a week break. I am going to be away, but don't miss me too hard, y'all. And remember, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye.